So after days and weeks of trade rumors involving Damian Lillard after he made it known to the Portland Trail Blazers franchise earlier on that he no longer wanted to be a member of the organization, he made it clear he wanted to be a member of the Miami Heat. Portland wasn't going to budge on his wishes. They said that for the best interests of their franchise going forward, they were going to package Damian Lillard up into a team that was going to give them the best possible chance of, fast-tracking their rebuild and making sure that their organization was well taken care of. The day of reckoning finally came to be today, and it was an absolute shocker. Damian Lillard is now a Milwaukee Buck and will be teaming up with Giannis Antetokounmpo next season, in which looks like an ominous pairing and one that's going to possibly push him into championship contention next year. And I, for one, I can't wait for the season now after seeing this. This is going to be absolutely crazy. Marcus, what do you make of this? I guess I've got my opinions on it, and I'm going to let you know that in a moment, but I'd love to hear what you have to say on this particular matter and what you make of Damian Lillard being a Milwaukee Buck now.
First, it obviously is a very young team with Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson and Simons leading at the forefront. They don't have a big man. That is why Deandre Ayton fits so perfectly within this squad. He'll probably have the opportunity, or he will in fact, under Chauncey Billups, to take more than 15 shots a night, which is his highest amount of shot attempts he's had in the past at the Phoenix Suns. And remember, Ayton was labelled once upon a time as one of the best prospects to come out of college as a big man, and he looked like a young David Robertson at his time at Arizona. So now we're really going to see what Ayton looks like when given the keys, because from my perspective, look, Scoot's not going to have the keys right away, I don't think, as that main scoring option. As a rookie point guard, Shaedon Sharpe, he showed a lot towards the end of last season, but I don't think he necessarily has yet built longevity to where he is your number one option. And Simons, as good as he is, he's personally one of my favorite players in the league. I don't look at him as being your number one option moving forward. I think he is your secondary guy, much like a CJ McCollum, much like an Andrew Wiggins, much like even a guy like DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine. I don't know if he's your number one guy you want to build around for a championship. The thing is with Ayton, we've seen him complain in the past about not getting enough post touches. Well, Chauncey, being that point guard for the Pistons and being a multiple-time All-Star and a great playmaker in his own right, he is going to know how to get the ball to Ayton and how to kind of structure the offense around Scoot and around Ayton, similar to his time with a guy like, for example, Rasheed Wallace, who mostly scored operating with his back to the basket. Last year, as primarily a third to fourth option offensively, he still managed to collect around 18 points, 10 rebounds a game, but we know that is like the bare minimum of what Ayton can actually do. And I don't think he's even scratched the surface of his full potential. He's only 25 years of age. Let's see what happens in Portland. I don't expect him to break out that instrumental in his first year there because of the young team around him. But as Scoot grows, as Simons and Sharpe all grow together with Ayton, I think they're going to have a lot of fun. And I think they will surprise a lot of people and be a lot better than people kind of expect them to be. This is the most exciting Blazers squad I personally can put to mind since the days of Brandon Roy, Greg Oden, LaMarcus Aldridge. And although that team couldn't stay healthy, they were a young and thriving team that people looked at and still think to this day, what if that team, I guess, never got injured and stayed together and built something special in Portland? Now, although obviously them being injured led to a guy like Damian Lillard being on the team, you look in the long run, this is kind of the same situation going on now. Could they almost get a rejuvenate, a restart, and have another attempt at potentially building for an NBA championship? Because with Dame, although they reached the Western Conference Finals, they never really had a championship team. You stick these young guys together for multiple consecutive years and try build something, you never know. I mean, Golden State was able to do it, so I don't see a reason why Portland couldn't.
Well, I like the fact that they obviously get to start afresh now, and they got something back in terms of getting a big man who has a lot of potential. He's got a really tremendous upside and might have been a little bit stagnated by the fact that he had CP3 and Devin Booker there in the past, and obviously in this limited season that just went by, he had KD there taking a number of possessions away from him. And even under Monty Williams, there was a bit of a a fractured relationship there, as we could recall during the playoff series against the Mavericks, where, he was complaining, whining towards Monty Williams. Monty Williams ended up benching him. So that's obviously was never a good sign, and I think that might not be a good sign for the Blazers either. Hopefully that was more just a Phoenix Suns thing and something to do with the organization itself, as opposed to a Deandre Ayton character trait. But if that's something we're going to expect from Deandre Ayton going forward, then look, I don't know how that's going to sit well with the Blazers front office and the organization, the coaching staff. Mind you, Chauncey Billups seems like a really good young player coach, but at the end of the day, if you have that kind of an attitude, I don't think even he's going to accept that, especially considering he was once upon a time a point guard and, a floor general and a leader of a championship winning team. So I think he's played with a lot of different big personalities like, Rasheed Wallace, Big Ben. But even then, that's different playing with them than obviously leading them as a head coach of an organization. But I do think he's got a lot of potential, don't get me wrong. And I think a guy like Deandre Ayton has all the tools at 7'1" to be a really premier big man in this league. But I think it's all between the ears for him, how, far he can take his career and how much he can progress. And I guess he's got to break that stigma of, is he just an empty stats kind of guy? Because even in his sophomore year, when he obviously had that career year, it was when there was not really much to play for the Phoenix Suns there in that particular season. But at the end of the day, if he can break that particular kind of, I guess, perception we have of him, then he definitely could be a really big part of the future growth and development for this young Blazers core. But I'm really looking forward to seeing Scoot now being able to really have a free license this coming season to show what he's made of, and to I guess prove to the fans and to the doubters, of including us, not doubters as such, but that whole argument was, should they have taken Brandon Miller or Scoot Henderson, to I guess prove that he was the clear-cut number 2 in this draft, even though I still to this point believe that Brandon Miller was. And then you've got a guy like Shaedon Sharpe, who again last year was probably limited a little bit by Damian Lillard being obviously so prevalent and being the superstar, being in the starting lineup week after week and game after game. It sort of limited Shaedon Sharpe's development in his rookie season. And you saw at the back end of the year when they shut Dame down in those last 10 games of the year, averaged 20. Yeah, he really flourished and really became the player we know he's capable of, and the reason why they ended up picking him with that 7th overall pick. So I'm just really looking forward to and really excited to see how this Blazers team sort of goes forward now without Dame, and how they can, I guess, progress, and whether this young core will stay together for the long term, and can they achieve more than what they did by having Dame. Because you look at it from that perspective, I think, yes, you lose a guy like Damian Lillard, but when you have a guy that takes up a majority or a fair chunk of the salary cap, it's really hard to build around a player like that, and build a team specifically catered for a superstar that does earn $50 million plus every season, especially with the kind of player that Damian Lillard is. He's not like a Nikola Jokic. He's not like a Joel Embiid, etc. He's a smaller guard. He obviously is a very lethal scorer, but can be limited on the defensive side of the ball, and he's not a primary playmaker, or that's not his first role on the court, obviously. So, or primary role on the court, I should say. So, in that sense, I think maybe, who knows, it helps the Blazers, and eventually, if they can continue to build through the draft and through free agency, or as best as they can through free agency, because it's hard to attract free agents to Portland. I think this will be definitely, it might end up being a really, really, really beneficial move from the Blazers perspective. And yeah, who knows, they might go further without Dame than they did with him. So, and in that whole era with CJ and Damian Lillard as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how things play out going forward. It's going to be tough now for the Blazers to contend in the immediate future, but if you can see with OKC how quickly things can turn around. All it takes is one superstar player to break out in the sense of SGA, and you build through the draft, and you get lucky with the draft assets and, through trade and all this sort of stuff, you can definitely turn the corner very, very quickly, and it doesn't take, the 5-10 years that it used to. Now it can be a couple of seasons and you're in contention again. So watch this space, but I think Portland's got a very bright future ahead, and I think they're still maybe a couple moves away from really being back to that spot where they were with Damian Lillard once upon a time. But it's going to be interesting to see how things play out nonetheless.